When graphing tangent of x, we keep in mind that tangent of x is equal to sine of x over cosine of x. So if we start at the angle of 0, sine of x is 0 and cosine is 1, so 0 divided by 1 gives us 0. At pi over 6, sine is 1/2 and cosine is square root of 3 over 2, gives us square root of 3 over 3. At pi over 4, sine of x is 1 over square root of 2, and cosine of x is 1 over square root of 2. So sine divided by cosine is 1. At pi over 3, we have sine of x is square root of 3 over 2, and cosine of x is 1/2. So sine divided by cosine is square root of 3. Then at pi over 2, we have sine is 1 and cosine is 0. So this is undefined. 1 divided by 0 is undefined, so we're going to come back to that point and examine that more later. So now let's move on to 2 pi over 3. So we have negative 1/2. So we have square root of 3 over 2 for sine, negative 1/2 for cosine. So we get negative square root of 3 for tangent. At 3 pi over 4, we have 1 over square root of 2 for sine, negative 1 over square root of 2 for cosine, which gives us negative 1. At 5 pi over 6, we get 1/2 for sine, negative square root of 3 over 2 for cosine, so we get negative square root of 3 over 3 for sine divided by cosine. And then at pi, we get 0 for sine, 1 for cosine, so we get negative 1 for cosine, so we get 0 for sine divided by cosine. And if we keep going, we get, if we check 7 pi over 6, we get negative 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2, so we get square root of 3 over 3. Then at 5 pi over 4, we have negative 1 over square root of 2, negative 1 over square root of 2, which gives us 1. At 4 pi over 3, we get negative square root of 3 over 2, and negative 1/2 for cosine. So that's going to give us square root of 3. At 3 pi over 2, we get negative 1 for sine, 0 for cosine. So negative 1 divided by 0 is undefined. So again, that's a point we'll have to look at later. And then going back around, we have 5 pi over 3 is negative square root of 3 over 2 for sine, 1/2 for cosine. So dividing that, we get negative square root of 3. At 7 pi over 4, we have negative 1 over square root of 2 for sine, 1 over square root of 2 for cosine, giving us negative 1. At 11 pi over 6, we get negative 1/2 for sine, square root of 3 over 2 for cosine, giving us square root of 3 over 3. And then we'll start to repeat. So let's take a look at these values we've been getting. Notice that after 5 pi over 6, we start to repeat. So we have 0, 0, square root of 3 over 3, square root of 3 over 3, 1, 1, square root of 3, square root of 3, undefined, undefined, negative square root of 3, negative square root of 3, negative 1, negative 1, and then we have negative square root of 3 over 3 and negative square root of 3 over 3. So this tells me that my period for tangent is pi. So remember, for sine and cosine, our period was 2 pi. We repeated our values every 2 pi, but for tangent, we repeat every pi. So now let's try to graph these points. So at 0, tangent, so this is my x value, and this is my y value. So at 0, we're at 0. At pi over 6, we're at square root of 3 over 3, which is about 0.578 right there. At pi over 4, we are at 1. At pi over 3, we are at square root of 3. And then we're undefined at pi over 2. And then at 2 pi over 3, we're at negative square root of 3. At 3 pi over 4, we're at negative 1. And at 5 pi over 6, we're at negative square root of 3 over 3. So far we have this, and we have this, and we know that we repeat after pi. So if we connect these, so if we keep going, we'll end up with something that looks like this. So if we clear out our mess, this is our graph, and we're going to keep repeating. So now we need to figure out what happens around pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 and so on. So we want to know what happens as right here. What happens as tangent of x gets really close to pi over 2 coming from the left. Okay? So as we get really close to pi over 2. So if we let our function be tangent of x and we go to our table, so we can start at 1.5. And we see we're at about 14.1. Getting closer, 1.51. See, we're at 16. If we try 1.55, we're at 48. We're at 1,255. And so what's happening is that my values of y keep getting bigger and bigger. So as we get closer and closer to pi over 2, our values are going to get bigger and bigger, so we're going off to infinity. And what happens when we come back the other way? What happens when we get close to pi over 2 coming from the right? So things that are slightly bigger. So let's look at (1.6). We have negative 34.2. If we look at 1.59, we have negative 52. If we look at 1.58, we get negative 108.6. If we look at 1.571, which is still bigger than pi over 2, we get negative 4,910. So we see that we're getting closer and closer to negative infinity. So what we have at pi over 2 is a vertical asymptote. Similarly at 3 pi over 2. So what we have is asymptotes. We're approaching our asymptote from the right. We get go to negative infinity, and approaching our asymptote from the left, we go off to infinity. So the most common period, or section of tangent that we see, is the section that goes from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2.